All right, hey everyone. Welcome to the Photo EQR podcast held here at Academy of Art University. This is our first podcast. Really, you could consider this the podcast number 0, more of a test for ourselves than anything else, which is why there is absolutely no one watching this live. But if you happen to see this in the future, posted online somewhere, um, you know, we will be quite grateful for that. But just keep in mind, this is the first podcast we've ever done that I've ever done. So it might be a little rough. We'll see how it goes today. So my name is Elliot Lovell. I am a technician here at the Academy of Art University, going on about 3 years now. And it was my idea to start this podcast, to give students a way to connect with us techs and with each other as fellow students through the chat and through this podcast to go over everything related to photography, from camera settings, different, options when you're shooting, different editing softwares and how to use them, and just try to create a fun environment for people to learn and talk about photography. So for today, I'm going to do a quick demo in Photoshop based off of some questions I got asked by a friend of mine a few months ago about Photoshop and how to merge different photographs together. And so we'll take a look at those photographs and some different options on how to merge them together and create one photograph out of many. So let's go ahead and try that. And we will share our entire window, I guess. Can we not share Photoshop? I want to share Photoshop. There it is, Photoshop. All right, that's my first time doing this, so it might be a little rough, but here we are in Photoshop, and we're looking at New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2024, above the city of Phoenix, Arizona. And as I said, I was out there with my friend, who's not a professional photographer. He just kind of hangs out with me while I go out and do these shoots. And we were experimenting with capturing the fireworks that we see. And so while we were out there, we were kind of struggling to figure out how to capture the fireworks in an effective way. Because if you do a proper exposure of around 20 to 30 seconds, the chance of getting a firework to go off in that 20 seconds is very low. And so you end up with a lot of photographs that look like this, with absolutely no fireworks, very boring, and very few that actually have the firework going off. So we started by doing long exposures, going up to 5, 10, 15 minutes. And that worked decent for getting the fireworks in the sky, because fireworks act pretty much as small strobes and freeze themselves in your shot. The problem with that method, though, is that your foreground, the city, ends up being completely overblown, and it doesn't look natural. It doesn't look like nighttime anymore. It looks like there's fireworks in the middle of the day. And so instead, what I decided to do was do a series of photos with the plan of photoshopping them together to create the final product. And so we are going to go over how to do that today. As you can see here on the right, we have all of our layers already. We have a total of 12, I believe, photographs, and we can go ahead and go through them by turning them on and off. And you'll see as we go through the different explosions of the fireworks we have and how many of them have fireworks and how many, surprisingly, don't. They're just pretty much wasted shots where nothing was happening. As you see there, we have a tiny little one hiding in the background, but it's not much. And as we go through, there's a pretty good sized one on the left. We get pretty good. The question, of course, is how can we take all these individual fireworks from these different shots and put them all into one final photograph. And there's two different ways to do that. The first way is maybe the first thing that might come to mind is masking. And this is a decent way to do it, but it's not the ideal way to do it. And I can show you why. So if you're familiar with Photoshop, you're probably familiar with how to use a mask. If not, I'll do a very brief tutorial here. But by adding a mask, we are able to add in the background information from other layers when we paint either with white or black paint on that mask. So you'll see by adding, let's switch these layers because this one has a firework going off. Well, the one below it didn't. By painting on this mask with a black pen, or brush, I should say, we can add in these fireworks. And if we were very determined, we could slowly work our way through all of these photographs, adding a mask to each layer, selecting it, being like, there's a firework there. So let's paint here, and there it is. But then we have to go up to this mask and add it in. Let's make sure we're on the mask. If that happens, you're on the photograph and not on the mask. And we can paint it in there, and then we got to paint it in once again up here. And this one, it actually conflicts with another firework that we don't want to really get rid of. And you can slowly do this, going through every layer. And it's a lot because we have 12 different photographs in total. So it's not the easiest thing to do, without a doubt. But there's actually a much easier way to do it that I've figured out. And that is kind of thanks to the fact that they're fireworks, and that they're so bright. They, as I said, they act pretty much as strobes. I didn't mean to do that. We'll cancel that. And because of that, they are the brightest part of the image. And so if we do a selection of all of our layers, we can actually change them here to lighten. And this will allow all the brightest parts of an image, of a layer, I should say, to show through to the layer above it. And in this way, we get all of the fireworks without any masking work. The masking method is perfectly viable, But as you saw previously, it's pretty tedious to do. And this is a much smoother, simpler process, I find. And so, yeah, there we go. We have now merged 12 photographs together into one photograph with, a good amount of fireworks going off in the sky. And, we could clean up a lot. We could go through and clean up the sky a bit. We got some blinking lights out there in the distance. We got some planes flying through our different shots. But I think for the purposes of this tutorial, it's looking pretty good. So there you go. And let me stop sharing that, bring back my podcast if I can. There we go. Where'd it go? I hate two screens. There we are. All right, and as I said, this is a pretty short little test stream today. So, we're just over 10 minutes, pretty short, but I think we will call it there and, leave comments in the chat. And, if you're a professor watching this, think of some things we can do to improve this, and yeah, we'll see you next time.